Hey y'all, this is Madeline from Orbital Events in San Diego, and I'm here today meeting virtually with Kassadin. Can you introduce yourself and tell me where you're from and kind of what your role is in the band?
All right, so my name is actually Ray Guandulain, and I live in Vista, California, which is where the band originates and makes most of the music at. I have my best friend Tito Karate, and he's from Temecula, and I have who played guitar on the first album. His name is Alex Bobadilla, and he lives in Oceanside, California. So I want to say like those are the two members who are primarily involved in the music. But my role in the music is the drummer, and I sing in the music. I make most of the music. I record all the music here in this room. Everything that has been released is has been at my dad's house here in this room. Um, and Tito, he plays bass, and he's written lyrics for some of the songs, and Alex plays guitar. And yeah, that's who we are, I guess, as a band. But I mean, I could go deeper than that, but Kassadin is that just us three piece only. I like the less musicians to deal with, the better. Um, and then it gives us more of a like it gives us more ways to think about like how to fill in or sound like we're full, but it's just three members. And so that's I like that idea too. Yeah, but we're from Vista, California, and that's my hometown.
Cool. Yeah, I want to hear more about that like full sound later.
Yeah.
Um, but how long have y'all been together?
So I started writing songs for this project maybe 3 years ago. I want to say four, but 4 years ago, definitely like the demos were coming out of me just through inspiration of like variety of things. But I still go to Palomar, and I went to Palomar 4 years ago. I was with Tito, who I've only met for like 6 years compared to some other friends that I've jammed with. And I met him through his cousin, and we played League of Legends together. But I've known he's a musician for like a long time. His primary instrument is actually ukulele, not bass. And he plays guitar and he plays keyboards too, but his main instrument was ukulele. So he knew a lot about music already. But at Palomar, I was already constructing ideas for guitar, and I'm not a guitarist. I'm primarily a drummer. I've been playing drums since I was four, and the guitars and the keyboards, bass have always been present at my house, but I never really picked them up until 4 years ago, and that's for various reasons. But I'm sure we could get into that later. But 4 years ago was definitely like the start of the demos, but the actual music came about maybe like 3 years ago, and then the first full length recordings were happening 2 years ago, and so that's I want to say that's when like the everything was starting, like the whole idea, and then the name came about. Cassidy, we could go into that later, but that to answer the first
Actually,
question.
that would be a good time. Why are you called Kassadin?
So Cassidy, um, for me personally, the name sounds cool. Um, I like single
I like it.
words.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds
I like single words. Like single words sound cool. I hate. Well, I don't hate, but I dislike the this the that.
cool.
Like I'd rather not have like two words, and especially the like intro title to your like band name. So I just wanted just a single word. Kind of like Nirvana, Primus. So Cassidy came from League of Legends, and it's a character in the game who lost his family, uh, roams in revenge for his family, and just kind of he's like an assassin based player, like character in the game, and he's just like really out there just to like for himself, and kind of like, but he does it for his family, and that's kind of like I like that idea. I like the character. He's like one of my favorite characters to play in the game, but I transcribed that to like how like to the band name now, and it's kind of like I feel like since I'm writing most of the music, I do this for my friends who are in the band, and like I do this for my family, and I do this like especially for like my mom, my dad, my little brother, a niece that I have, and so like the name for me fit well. So Kassadin is called the band is called Kassadin strictly because I love the video game, I love that character, and I love like what he's about in the game, and like um a lot of inspiration comes from the game, and uh yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I didn't want to think. I feel like I'm putting too much thought into it, but like I just love the name, like how it sounds. Like it rings good to me, and I feel like there's no when I like was signing up to like upload music on Spotify and Apple Music, there was no other band called Kassadin. And like I like its uniqueness, and I feel like I could how would I say this? I could find some like common ground with like the people that play that game, and then like they could transcend to the music, you know, like so that's something to share with people who play the game. Like when I'm on the game, I'm just like sharing links to my Spotify, like, you know, like, hey, check my band out. And like I don't get a reply most of the time, but sometimes I do. So I think it's funny. And like as I'm playing the character too, it's like, oh, yeah. So that's why it's called Castle. I just like how it sounds. And then the other reason.
Yeah, so what would you say then distinguishes your sound, your music? You talked about the name. What distinguishes your musical sound?
Um, that's hard. That's a tough one because I have this conversation with all my friends who play music and who don't play music. And it kind of seems like at this point in time, music has become very like it just seems like everything is done. Like what's new? What can so like I the sound around my cities, the cities around here are very like nostalgic and they still stick to they stick mainly to the roots of like music. But the way I see it, it's like when I started this, I was like the approach was I don't want to like create. I want to create something new, but it's almost impossible. So how about we take the sounds of the bands and the type of music that we like and tweak it and make create something new. It's kind of like because I'm inspired by a lot of films. So like I don't know if you study any type of like art and film and stuff like that, but they talk about how like everything in film's already done, and like directors like Quentin Tarantino uses this style of like taking from a bunch of films that he's seen and creating something new. And so I don't know what it's called. There's a word for it, but that's kind of like, uh,
Synthesis. There's lots of words for it.
yeah, there's lots of words for it. I'm sure I'll think about it later, but that's what like, that's how I started creating that sound of the music. I was just like, I'm going to take everything that I like to listen to and see if I could tweak it and create something new. Now, I don't know if I created something new. Like personally, I don't know, but what I've created, I like. And I feel like a lot of musicians struggle with that. They create stuff that they find hard to like. And I personally love the music. Like I've never been so in love with the music I've written like until now. Like I don't know what's good or bad, but I enjoy the music that I write, and enjoy writing the music. So yeah, so everything is just a collective sound, like collective sounds from bands and genres that I love, and it's like I don't know. I have like this. I'm like a musical guru when it comes to like the variety of music that I listen to is just there's just so much to it. Like my Spotify is like filled with music. Like I am so open minded to anything and everything. Like if people throw me links, like I listen to anything. Like and I feel like sometimes when people aren't like that, they kind of like slow themselves down when it comes to them wanting to make music because they're not keeping an open mind to new ideas and because anything could be a new idea, anything could bring inspiration. And so like even if like someone sends me something that I maybe don't like in the end, but I still had the open mind to try it out and see what I can like or what I can't like from it. So the sound, um, yeah, that's the sound. That's like the sound of Kassadin. I don't even know how to describe the sound of Kassadin. I feel like it's free spirited, very inspired by film, inspired by personal lives, and then like the tones of the music is kind of inspired by like the beach. I live close to the beach. Punk. I love jazz and heavy metal music. So I want to say like those are like I guess the I hate generalizing the music, but I want to say that's like the common ground because that's really a lot of the music that I listen to.
Yeah. No, and I would agree your sound sounds unique and it's really great that you like your sound. And I know Keely and I, Orbital Events, really like your sound, especially listening to the Apple, which you
Yeah.
released this year. I sent it to Keely and I was like, you have to check this out. Like the first track even, it's like really good. And I was serious. I was like, this is really good.
Yeah.
So we definitely like it, and it's good to hear that you like what you produce as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It means a
Yeah.
lot. Like I take feedback good or bad, and it comes like it touches my heart. Like really, genuinely, it does touch my heart.
No problem. Yeah, so say a little more about your influences, maybe some bands that you grew up listening to, or maybe some also bands who you would recommend that just like two bands, just talk about some bands you grew up listening to and then like two bands that you would recommend our viewers check out right now.
Okay, so I grew up Hispanic, like Mexican, 100%. My parents are from Oaxaca, so I learned. I started playing what you call cumbias. So as a kid, I think
Love cumbias, by the way.
yeah, they're great. I can't think of a specific artist as a kid, like because my dad is a DJ. He was also a musician, and so like he inspired a lot of that. But like when his band didn't work out in the '90s, which was a cumbia kind of like Hispanic Latin music and bass, it didn't work out. So he decided to be a DJ, and so like you could already imagine like the amounts of music he has in his like stock. Like he has so much CDs, and so like I as a kid had a CD player or I had a computer and I would just listen to a lot of stuff. But two bands that I think stick out in my childhood are definitely this Mexican band called Los Caifanes, and they played this cumbia called La Negra Tomasa. Obviously, it's a very, 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 very popular song.
That's such a good song.
Yeah, so that, and I think like like I want to say my dad listened to a lot of The Doors. And for someone from who's Mexican who came here super young, it just seems a little like my dad loves the Doors, and people when he hears the Doors and like he listens to the Doors, a lot of people don't expect that out of my dad, but he like plays LA, he loves LA Woman, he has it on CD and he has like the first album, and that I love the Doors since because of him. So yeah, as a kid, I think I listened to a lot of classic rock because my dad came here like in the prime of that, like just the '80s, like '70s and '80s. He was here very young, and so he brought that music to us. So he wasn't home a lot because he left Mexico like when he was 15, 14 years old. So he didn't really get to listen to a lot of the music that was coming out of Mexico. He actually grew up with the music that came out here. So that's why I was inspired by all that music. But bands that I would recommend right now, like good bands or just bands in general that I think people could like listen to and like really get inspired to start like something. I want to say like more than two, definitely. But like, I want to say like Metallica, like because that's when I started to play music in a band. Was in seventh, eighth grade. Like my friends wanted to play Metallica songs, and so like my best friends, Nirvana, the Strokes, yeah, those are like bands that are like really popular. They get a lot of hate for what they do now, but I think like they get called overrated and stuff. But I think they're a great bands because the goal, maybe at first isn't to like influence people, but it does, and like that's why I do music, and I think that's why a lot of people like do music. I feel like a lot of people listen to Metallica and like let's start a band because that was my scenario. So I want to say those are bands that I feel like people could listen to and like get inspired. I mean, I have so many other bands that inspire me, but at first, like those were definitely the bands that were inspiring me, like Nirvana, The Strokes, and Metallica.